Thanks for your company. The details now. Auditor General Daniel Domelovo has resumed work after nearly 170 days forced leave after a directive from President Akufo-Addo last year. This return to work is despite a directive from the Audit Service Board saying he should stay away because personal records in its possession indicate he's reached retirement age. In a series of correspondence between the Audit Service Board and the Auditor General, the board indicated that it's noticed discrepancies in his date of birth and nationality. We'll be bringing you more on that particular issue on the correspondence, but let's go live now to the Audit Service. My colleague Manuel Cranting has been there since morning. Hello, Manuel.
Yes, Bennett.
Tell us what you observed at the Audit Service.
Yeah, so his normal reporting time, that is the Auditor General Daniel Domelovo, would have ordinarily be around 8 a.m. So we've been here around 7 a.m. monitoring whether or not he was going to show up. Indeed, earlier, everybody at the office, even up until now, has been tight-lipped. Nobody was saying anything until we got a glimpse of his arrival. He used a different entrance into the yard of the audit service where he was ushered into his office. And it's instructive to note that at this point, there was a sharp contrast in how he was received today against what happened the other time when he arrived at the office and the keys. The other time when he arrived at the office and the keys had been changed. In fact, today he was giving a smooth access into his office. I also, in fact, went upstairs and monitored that some technicians had come to his office and were fixing the telephone lines. I gathered that there were some issues with the telephone lines in his office. That issue has been fixed this morning, giving you an indication of the sort of, reception that he's received since he arrived at the office. We've been trying to get some comments from him, essentially on whether or not he's gathered, the correspondence from the board on wanting him to stay away from the office because of the issues around his nationality and then, of course, his age. He's declined to comment, but he spoke to us briefly and, thanked Ghanaians for their concern for him and checking on him even as he reported to work this morning.
All right, Manuel, let's listen to him.
Any public statement. I will not also comment on any issues, but it will be a disrespect to you people to just look at you and ignore you. So once again, thank you very much for showing concern and for coming. Thank you.
Manuel, that was very brief indeed, and we'll be coming to find out more from you. But let's bring our audience a report on the correspondence between Auditor General Daniel Domelovo and the Audit Service Board.
You will be acknowledged.
Daniel Domelovo with his infamous quote during an interview following his decision to surcharge former senior minister Yao Osafo-Maafo for allegedly breaching the Public Procurement Act that resulted in their payment of $1 million to a private UK firm, Kroll and Associates. Mr. Osafo-Maafo then sued the Auditor General and 4 other officials of the Finance Ministry to clear their names. His was one of many state entities Mr. Domelovo was investigating, but on June 29, 2020, President Akufo-Addo directed him to proceed on his accumulated annual leave of 123 working days. The presidency had relied on sections 20 and 32 of the labor law and also a precedent set by former President Atta Mills when he asked the then Auditor General Edward Dua Ajiman to proceed on leave. But the move was criticized by some civil society organizations, which read meanings into the decision.
The president has no power to exercise any control, disciplinary, whatever, financial, administrative, managerial, none.
Days after this directive, Mr. Domelovo wrote back to the presidency urging President Akufo-Addo to reconsider the directive as it was unconstitutional. Daniel Domelovo said he had observed that his work was embarrassing the government. Following this letter, the presidency extended his leave by an additional 44 days. Government maintained the decision of the president was well grounded in law.
A sitting president has exercised the powers under the Labour Act, reference to somebody in the audit service in this manner. I do not recall civil society groups coming together to do a press conference.
Several pressure groups, political parties, and civil society organizations, including Occupy Ghana, CDD, the NDC, and anti-corruption campaigners, including Vitus Azim, spoke against the directive and urged the president to recall the Auditor General from his leave.
First, we believe the decision of the president is not proper and needs to be reconsidered. The action gravely weakens the president's fight against corruption.
US-based Ghanaian lawyer Professor Kweku Asari took the campaign a notch higher when he sued the Attorney General and two others over this directive, arguing it was illegal and inconsistent with the letter and spirit of Article 1877 of the 1992 Constitution. Within the first month of proceeding on leave, the locks on Mr. Domelovo's office were changed on the instructions of the Audit Service Board, chaired by Professor Duajiman.
Yeah, but the key cannot even enter. How do you see that? It was flat like this, and they've changed it to this one.
Professor Duajiman defended this action, saying the move was to secure the office.
There is a problem about the office, the locks. The board has every right to make sure that the place is secure.
After 167 days on leave, Daniel Domelovo is expected to return tomorrow, March 3, 2021, to continue his work. What remains to be seen is what will become of the legal action taken in his defense following the president's directive.
So we know today the update is that Daniel Domelovo has returned to work despite a directive from the Audit Service Board for him to stay away because records in its possession indicate, personal records in its possession indicate that he is due for retirement. Let's bring you details of that correspondence between the Auditor General and the Audit Service Board. So it has come to the attention of the Audit Service Board that your personal records in the public services of Ghana show several disparities and anomalies as provided below. Records at the Social Security and National Insurance Trust SNIT, completed and signed by, indicate your date of birth as 1st June 1960 when you joined the scheme on October 1978. 2, the record showed that you stated your tribe as Togolese and a non-Ghanaian, that your hometown is Agbetofa. On 25th October 1993, you completed and signed SNIT change of beneficiary nomination form stating your date of birth as 1st June 1961 instead of 1st June 1960, which you stated on your SNIT member registration application from card number. They give the details when you joined the scheme on 1st October 1978 while working with the Ghana Education Service in Priso. And on 25th October 1993, you completed and signed a SNIT change of beneficiary nomination form stating your nationality as a Ghanaian and your hometown as Ada, Greater Accra Region. The date of birth on your Ghanaian passport, issued on 28th February 1996, is June 1961. The place of birth is stated as Kumasi, Ashanti Region. On 8th August 2012, you were issued with a Ghanaian passport, which again showed your date of birth as 1st June 1961. Records made available to the board indicate that your retirement was 1st June 2020, and as far as the audit service is concerned, you are deemed to have retired. We were hoping to get a reaction from a lawyer on the legal aspects of this particular case, and we've seen a lot of commentary from lawyers in the public space, especially on Facebook, some of whom suggest that the Audit Service Board does not have the authority to ask Mr. Domilevo to proceed on leave. We definitely will bring you more analysis on this in subsequent bulletins. But Manuel Kranting is still at the Audit Service Department. So, Manuel, have you been given a hint of what's going to happen next, or is going to be a normal day as usual at the Audit Service Department?
Well, Benes, if there's anything that I can confirm to you, and that will be that today at the Auditor General's office, there's no drama at all. Well, it waits to be seen whether or not that is something that will erupt as the day goes by. And you also know that the Deputy Auditor General took over as the Acting Auditor General. We're looking forward to seeing his arrival on the premises and what exactly the exchange is going to be, if you like, engagement is going to be between Auditor General Substantive Daniel Yao Domilevo and the Acting Auditor General. That is something that we are monitoring closely and attempting to find details of. But again, another issue that waits to be seen is what will become of the legal repercussions and implications of his arrival on the premises of the office. Indeed, the board had said, in fact, challenged his nationality and in some instances referred to him based on records from his official documents as being Togolese, and also referring to his date of birth as 1st June 1960, something which Daniel Yao Domilevo in his correspondence to the board said was corrected in 1993 to 1st June 1961. And so if indeed he was born on 1st June 1960 and the audit board's position holds, then he would, as it were, based on the audit board's correspondence to him, will be occupying the office this morning illegally. But we do not have details on what the implications of his arrival are yet. And that is what we are monitoring, Benes, from here at the Audit Service premises, trying to find you the details. And when the Acting Auditor General, in the absence of Mr. Yao Domilevo, when he arrives here, we'll try and get a word from him also, whether or not they are going to work in synergy as they used to before the Auditor General Yao Domilevo was asked to proceed on leave sometime some 167 days ago, Benes.
Well, we definitely know that you'll be standing by to report on what will happen at the Audit Service Department during the course of the day. But let me bring you a reaction to this from Director of Advocacy at the CDD, Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante, who says that circumstances surrounding the board requesting that Mr. Daniel Domilevo stay away from work are shameful.
It's just another clear indication that, you know, the Audit Service Board, led by its chairman, wants to continue this very shameful behavior. It seems like the only you know, job the Audit Service is doing is to stop the Auditor General from working. And I don't, you know, they seem to have a lot of time to do this. So it's very disappointing. I mean, we know that the Auditor General will retire in June anyway, so maybe another 3 months. So this whole matter coming at this time, obviously, for me, it's just ridiculous. And it just adds to the fuss around this whole issue. But after we've already said, this is not a matter just about the Auditor General. It's a much bigger issue. It's a constitutional issue. It's a big governance issue. So we'll wade through all of these matters that come. It has to be done in accordance with the rule of law. And I'm sure when we've all gotten an opportunity to review what has transpired, we'll be able to respond appropriately. But
away from Daniel Domilevo versus the Audit Service Board, police officers face some of the most dangerous and demanding situations imaginable in their line of duty. Although their duties are very essential to society, they can be very strenuous to those in the profession. Compounding their predicament is some of the poor working conditions they face within the service. This causes emotional and physical strain to them sometimes. In the past 2 months, 3 officers have committed suicide. A police officer shares his experience in the service and tells us what he believes are the causes of mental stress in personnel. His voice has been muffled to protect his identity.
With regards to the recent happenings in the police service, especially the suicide, it is real, but just that nobody cares about it. The first one I will talk about is stress. The officers, especially the junior ranks, are so stressed. They go to work 24 hours. The least is 12 hours without any single day off in a year. Moreover, what they are entitled to, which is the 42 days annual leave, is not granted to them when they request for it. You can write the entire 42 days to go and do other things and rest. But unfortunately, your commander can decide to give you only a portion out of it. It can be 10, 14, 15. But your 42 days leave, you cannot get it. Going to work without a single off day. If you complain, you have yourself to be blamed. So whether you are happy or not, all that you need to do is carry your gun and go to work. Another thing is, most of the officers, the senior officers, don't listen to you. You can have a genuine complaint, but all that they will tell you is they also came to meet it like that. So you to keep quiet and do it as you are told. Whether the thing is killing you or not, for them what they want to see is you are working. Another thing is uniforms or police equipment that you need not to buy, says by our own police laws, is no more. If you take your pay, you go and use it on your uniforms, your boots, your berets, and those things. And who betides you if you are not able to get these things? They, the big men again, worry you. A boot, normal desert boot or black boot, some cost 300, 400, 500. You will get those things, uniforms. Meanwhile, your salary is just a peanut. All these things are part of the depressions. Frustration left and right, but nobody cares. If you talk, they say keep quiet and suffer, because they came to meet it like that, so you to continue like that. Accommodation too is one of them. And also the petty allowances that are due police officers are not getting.
So you heard the police officer whose identity has been protected, and he shares what he believes are the causes of stress and mental health disorders among officers. Well, this situation has led the Inspector General of Police, James Apom-Buenu, to prioritize the welfare of officers. His first step in improving their mental health is through a 4-day mental health training program, and this is in collaboration with the Ghana Psychological Association.
Recent happenings of some senior and junior officers committing suicide are very regrettable. And this is a concern to the police administration. We need to find a solution to this. And this is one of the ways in which we can find that solution. But you, the commanders, are the front line. So first of all, you must take this cause seriously and ensure that you yourself, as the supervisors, do not fall victim to the stress and the very mischief that we want to overcome. It is emphasized that the counseling unit will serve as an appropriate avenue or channel for personnel to express their psychological concerns for appropriate redress. It is expected that the unit, which is staffed by competent personnel, will roll out a broad range of programs to improve psychological concerns of our personnel and help them to overcome their struggling state. The police administration anticipates that the counselors will focus on individual treatment as well as group therapy to help others in similar situations. This may help guide persons through the difficult transition of going from addict to functional personnel in the service.
Well, the Executive Council member of the Ghana Psychological Association, Dr. Erica Damfrikua-Dixon, explains the modalities of the training.
We would teach them about mental health, because people erroneously think of mental health as those who are half naked walking the streets. They must have a clear understanding of this to be able to identify when such matters come up. And then lastly, we will delve into suicidology or suicide so that they can understand this phenomenon and know what to do where such things are arising. We would also look at the human resource policing and mental health. Our objective in running this course, first of all, is to make them a little more knowledgeable about mental health, help them identify in themselves and in people under their command, and lastly, to help them destigmatize, because there's a lot of stigma with mental health issues because they don't understand. So we hope that this would do this for them and would enable them to be able to seek the mental health services because now they are able to recognize in themselves.
Well, we'll be speaking to Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, GSP Sheila Abeye-Bachman, shortly. But Interior Minister Ambrose Derry says counselling will be reinforced while resources needed to ensure better policing are provided.
And you recall that when I appeared before the Appointments Committee, I did hint that we're going to build up the counseling department. And these are some of the events. But not only will it prevent them from dying, but it will also make them better police officers, to be able to think positively of the people they are dealing with. Because their mental state will determine whether they respect your human rights or not. And then, above all, will make them more professional so that they discharge their duties effectively, investigate things with a level mind and with expedition. So I think that holistically, it's going to make our police better police.
All right, so we have Superintendent Sheila Abeye-Bachman, Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service, joining us for a discussion on this. Thank you so much for your time this morning, ma'am. Let's start off with that officer who spoke to us on condition of anonymity. This is his own experience he's sharing with us and what he believes are the major causes of depression or mental health disorders among police officers. He mentions the fact that they work for too long. We all know for a matter of fact that the police to population ratio is not the best. The police struggles in terms of the number of personnel as against the activities that you have to perform. How long do your officers work?
Thank you, and I hope you are not attributing suicide to conditions of service alone, because the excess makers are aware that it results from a myriad of factors.
I'm not the one saying this. I just want you to respond to one of your members who is alluding to this.
Sure, I am coming to that.
Okay.
Some of the concerns he raised are genuine, and they are concerns that are already known by the police administration. Mm-hmm. It is the reason why several actions are being taken to address the issues holistically. And so this workshop that we are referring to will make commanders better managers of personnel, such that if it is about managing the human resource, if it is about managing time, if it's about managing resources such as uniform, commanders will be better equipped to do that, so that we don't unduly overwork our officers, or we don't overwork our officers to the detriment of our health. So several actions, as you heard the Inspector General of Police say yesterday, which you have played to listeners, are ongoing. So yes, some of the concerns are genuine and they're part of the issues that are being addressed. Those that are perhaps not, for instance, if you talk about uniform, last year you yourselves reported widely that uniforms had been given to officers to the extent that although we had tailors and seamstresses, because we needed officers to have new uniforms early, they were also given money to go and get them sewn outside. So some of them, for instance, police population ratio, it will come with recruitment. Some of them are within the realms and ambit of the police administration to solve them immediately. But others also require advocacy and doing things gradually. So they're being addressed, and hopefully in a matter of a few days, we should have this addressed. The workshop actually will have cascading effects on all police officers nationwide. Commanders are better informed, then junior officers who work under the commanders can also have the room to approach their commanders when they have issues and not bottle them up and just tell the media when it is the police that will have to solve the problems and not necessarily.
All right. And dear Superintendent, I beg your pardon, my question has not been answered. How many hours do your officers work, briefly?
It depends. The regulation that we work with says that we will work within 8 hours, but where the exigencies of the service requires, we work extra hours. So it depends on the duty that is being performed for a particular day or a particular period.
Well, and there's also the bit about unpaid allowances and accommodation. Can you briefly touch on that also?
You will have to be specific about what allowance is due a police officer that has not been paid.
Okay.
Because allowances that are due us, according to the duties performed and the ranks, are paid. So if you would have been specific on such allowance not being paid, then I could respond to it.
All right, finally.
But since we come up, we would look at it. If there are any allowances, our officers should come up and let us know so that we can.
Finally, are you supposed to provide accommodation for your police officers, and those who do not get the bungalows allocated to the Ghana Police Service, are they, for instance, given money to cater for the rent of other facilities they are able to get themselves?
Yes, Venice. Accommodation for police officers is compulsory for the police administration to provide. That is why we have the concept of barracks. And for those who will not, it is not everybody who must be housed in a barracks. Some officers are not housed in a barracks for strategic reasons. But it's also, you know, that some people have also even debated that police officers, we should erase the concepts of barracks accommodating police officers. But the good news is that if you are not in a barracks, you can find your own rent and then you'll be paid your rent allowance. There are also some accommodation facilities that are rented by the police service, and we put our officers there as though they are part of the police housing facility.
All right, okay. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. That's Superintendent Sheila Beye Bachman. She's Director of Public Affairs at the Ghana Police Service.
Hi, welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Retailers of maize at the Kumasi Central Market are concerned about the continued rise in the price of the commodity. The traders attribute the price increase to the lean season experienced last year. Now, food processors are also worried about the price hikes. Anita Sewa Adoga's report for you now.
Maize production is the most important cereal crop cultivated across the country. The increase in the price of maize continues to be a worry for traders selling the commodity. At the Kumasi Central Market, a bag of maize shot up from 180 Ghana cedis to 250 Ghana cedis in 2020. In the past 2 months, the price has increased to 320 Ghana cedis. According to traders, the lean season contributed to the high prices.
I
used to sell a bag of maize at 180 cedis, but due to the lean season, the price of maize keeps increasing.
White, here the 35. Abroad, I am say a weird and ye, a weird bebre say, Kitwe bin a ye, or noon manner. Pressing who cost this.
After the Easter celebrations, maize prices are going to increase. The price of maize keeps increasing. I used to sell the small blue paint rubber at 10 Ghana cedis, but I now sell it at 15 Ghana cedis just to make profits.
A brown edicaton to 1.5, a unit, yet on 1.5.
I was buying a bag of maize at 150 cedis. I was expecting a drop in prices, but it shot up to 300 cedis. The yellow corn is now sold at 350 cedis.
It is a 3 million a ton. Yellow corn, so you ton 3.5. Into the Aniamana and Nanitian, so the 1 cedi no ya that 50 pesos and one and one white no near channel 12 cedis, say a channel 12 cedis.
I was selling the condo at 8 cedis, but it's now 12 cedis.
Obaya, a kenke seller at Aja, says she had to increase the price of a ball of kenke to stay in business.
I feel only a kafano, but Okafano had 2.2.
I buy the maize at a price of 220 cedis, but it's now sold at 320 cedis. After checking the price of maize, we now sell a ball of kenke at 1 cedis, 50 pesos, and 2 cedis.
And so you know, Moko, say, Baconobo, 2 cedis no board, 15 no board, and yeah.
The minister designates for food and agriculture, Owusu Efiye Akoto, attributed the increase in prices to inflation. Anita Sewa Ajogan reporting.
Well, in other news, listed banks on the Ghana Stock Exchange have been given a 1-month extension to file their 2020 audited financial statements. They have up till the 30th of April to do so. Here's more.
The Ghana Stock Exchange, however, said the banks that are able to conclude their audit in time, in spite of the negative impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, are encouraged to publish within the existing statutory timelines. The banks listed on the Accra Bourse through the Ghana Association of Bankers requested that the deadline for filing of 2020 audited financial statements be extended by 1 month, that's to April 30. This will enable them to work effectively with their external auditors to achieve the audit objectives. The association indicated that the advent of COVID-19 has resulted in significant impact on human resource allocation in most banks. This was exacerbated by the recent spike in infection rate in the country. The statement further said results from initial assessment in the banking industry pointed to signals that some banks are unable to keep sufficient staff members at post to assist with the audit of the 2020 financial statement. The situation resulted in significant delays in some instances. This convinced the GSE to give some reprieve to the listed banks in publishing their 2020 financial statements.
And that's business. Back to you, Bernice.
Thank you very much, Daryl. And that's how we end this edition of News Desk. Really appreciate your company. Sorry we couldn't bring you that story about medical drones delivering vaccines to hard-to-reach communities. We'll bring you that at 12 on Joy News today. Do stay with us for more here on the Joy News channel or log on to myjoyonline.com for more news.